family, it's me again. Welcome to another episode of the Whole You podcast, where culture meets wellness. I am so excited to be hanging out with you guys again. How are y'all feeling? How are you doing? What's going on in your life? Remember, we said in our first season that I want you to drop a comment and let me know how you're doing. I legit care. I'm being serious. I really legitimately do care about how you are doing. And so let me know in the comment section. But I'm so glad that you're here. There is so many pods that you could be watching. And I don't know about y'all, but I am very much a pod person now. When I tell you I don't watch a lot of television at all, I am literally laying in the bed watching podcasts. And I also want to say how I watch any and all podcasts, whether it's educational, whether it has something to do with music. I be watching cooking podcasts, and then I watch random people, and these people be random, but they not random because I'm watching them, that are oh, come with me to spend 50 hours at Buc-ee's. And I literally watch 40 minutes of someone only eating Buc-ee's, and I'm watching it with total interest in what's going on. I don't know what it is about podcasts, YouTube, but there's just something going on where we don't want things scripted necessarily. We just want to drop into the lives of what people are doing. And so I think it's really cool. But y'all know how we start this podcast. It's time for Culture Codes. You already know. So this episode's Culture Code, did y'all think that I was not going to talk about Gucci Mane and Keisha Ka'oir? Did y'all think now y'all know when they came on the Breakfast Club that you was going to hear this pop up on the Whole You podcast, where culture meets wellness. First of all, shout out to the Breakfast Club, because you guys already know that's now it's my number 2 situation, which that show didn't even start out as a podcast. That's a radio show. But Joe Budden goes first, and then Breakfast Club is probably number 2 for me, because y'all know that's where I get all of my cultural information from. But when I saw Gucci Mane, I saw the advertisements on Instagram and had scrolled past it and wasn't thinking anything of it until I stopped once I wasn't busy anymore to listen to what was happening on the clips. I thought that maybe they were promoting something. I had no idea that all of these clips that I was seeing was around them being willing to be so vulnerable. And if you don't already know, they came on the Breakfast Club, and Gucci Mane's wife began to share, both of them, about the fact that he is schizophrenic, that he has a diagnosis of schizophrenia. Now, there are so many things that I want to say about this, but let me start by saying this. I am so grateful that there are aspects of mental health that are no longer lurking in the dark, because when I tell you there has been such a shift in our nation regarding people's openness to talk about mental health at all whatsoever, people being willing to even let someone know that they are in therapy, whether it's family members, their friends knowing. Y'all, back in the day, it was career suicide if you had an employer or a supervisor that had any information about you going to therapy. That was seen as a weakness, as a stigma, as if you don't have yourself together. There was a vulnerability that people would experience, because a lot of times that came with automatic judgment. But the fact that we have gotten to the point where now it's not just that people are open about the fact that they're seeking out therapy, that they need therapy. I never, ever thought that I would see the day that a celebrity would come onto a public platform and say what we call in the clinical world the S word. Schizophrenia is at the very top of the list of the most severe and the most complex mental disorders that individuals can have. And so the fact that they were willing to name it is so powerful. I just feel like it is going to open up a lot of things for us culturally. I'm going to hit some of those things and then we're going to move forward. Let me hit a couple of things that this is going to open up. One, it's going to open up the ability to cancel out shame. That there is so much shame around people who have challenges in the realm of what they experience mentally within their mind, that a lot of the reasons why people don't get help, why families that are supporting these individuals don't get help, is because they are ashamed of the fact that these things are occurring all together. And you know that shame likes to lurk in the dark. But the fact that people are having the courage to bring these things into the light means that now that shame is coming off, help can come in. And so one of the things that I want to say, and let me take the opportunity that I do a lot of times when I speak around the country, when people interview me, they will always ask me, what is mental health? Like, what falls underneath that banner? And I think that I have a cool way of explaining it. I always tell people that there are two sides to a clinical house, if you will, or even if you look at a clinical practice as a house, there are two sides of the house. You have one side of the house that deals with what we call emotional health. Emotional health deals with the fluctuation of just that, our emotions. And so anxiety exists within that realm, which is just excessive worry, worrying a lot. Depression, low grade, what we also call sometimes dysthymia, can exist underneath the realm of the emotional health aspect of a clinical house. Managing grief goes underneath the emotional health. Navigating relational dynamics and shifts. Those are all individuals that something has occurred, and I'm managing it, or I'm viewing it in a way that is skewed, and it is impacting how things are translating in my body emotionally. So my emotions are all over the place. Either I'm not aware of what's happening because my emotions are being repressed, like I'm pushing them down, or that there are emotions, watch this, that I need to tap into, that my circumstances are so traumatic, if you will, that there's blockages that have come. And so now I cannot tap into aspects of my feelings. All of that exists on the emotional health side of the house. But then we have what's called the mental health aspect of a house. Mental connecting to the mind, okay? And there are disorders that people have that are mental. They are not behavioral at its root. They are mental at the root. There is something that is happening with the chemicals in their brain that are imbalanced, that are causing them to have these experiences. We know that major depression a lot of times can just not be situational, but can be chemical. We know that bipolar, which I want to be clear that bipolar disorder is a very new term, that back in the day, bipolar was known as manic depressive disorder, which was a great title, I feel like, because the definition was in the title, that your emotions fluctuate so drastically that you have very high highs and then you can have very low lows and you swing. The thing about bipolar or manic depressant is the way that the individual can so quickly and drastically swing from one direction to the next, from high highs to very low lows. And a lot of times we often see bipolar manifests a little more when there's more manic episodes that are present. But that is a chemical imbalance that is going on that almost, which breaks my heart, makes people unable to control how they're responding to things or even what they are waking up to, because there is a chemical imbalance happening. Then we have something that's called schizophrenia. It is what we literally call the S word. It is a disorder that actually a lot of people rarely see. It is a disorder that makes us want to hide these individuals from society. It is manic depressant, bipolar, or schizophrenia, especially, that will make us keep that relative away from all events. That is the relative that literally is living in the basement. And there's so much shame again around it that we don't want people to know that this person is suffering. In addition to that, what happens is that schizophrenia very often comes with hallucinations. And so you are thinking that you're hearing voices. You also begin to have what we call visual hallucinations, which means that you are thinking that you're seeing things that actually may not be there. So those nuances bring about such, for lack of a better, more sophisticated word, a bizarreness almost to the disorder, which can be incredibly off-putting for people, which again brings all of that shame and that embarrassment. And the other challenge with schizophrenia, unfortunately, is that there is no cure for it to date. But it is very much something, family, that can be managed. But one of the things about schizophrenia is that you cannot manage it alone. It is one of those disorders that you must have other people around you actively participating in the management of it in order for you to be able to participate in the regularities of life, if you will, in the intersection with other people, simply in a way that is safe for you and for them. And so for his wife to begin to testify on that a show about the measures that she has to put in place, watch it, to protect him from himself, to protect him from the erratic decisions that he might make within what we call an episode, talks about what happens when you have an individual who loves and cares about you, who is willing, watch this, to see you higher than your disorder. And this is very important, family, when we talk about championing mental and emotional health, that these are things that people are experiencing, but it does not have to equate to who they are. And that we have to be able to begin to see what I call the dignity and the worth of all people. That even though people are struggling with something that often they themselves cannot even control, that they still have worth, that they still have value. And yes, even with what is considered a severe diagnosis, they most certainly can still contribute to this world. And so I think that this is a beautiful picture of what can happen when people get honest, when the individual is honest with themselves. Because the first thing we have to do as clinicians is just helping our clients to be able to accept the reality of what they're experiencing. And I want to highlight something that is very much proof of this point about the client, the individual's acceptance first. Do you see, family, a drastic difference between Gucci versus Kanye? Drastically different. Gucci has clearly gotten to the point where he has surrendered to accepting that this is a challenge for him, as opposed to Kanye West, who I believe we are constant and consistently seeing has not yet been willing to accept the fact that he has some deficiencies, and then from that place being open to people helping him. So it is very important, if you know someone that you love, or you might be that person yourself, if you know that there's something different about you, you need to lean into that, not from a place of fear, because fear makes you run away from it. No, you need to lean into it. You need to find out everything that you can find out about it. And in finding out things, one of the things that you're going to find out are all the ways that you can continue to thrive even with this disorder that you might have. The second thing that happens after acceptance of the individual, then their village needs to come into a place of acceptance as well. Because a lot of times what we see that happens is that the client has accepted where they are, but now we have another hurdle. And that's that the family, the village doesn't want to accept that this is a reality. And so once the family has now accepted this is a thing, this is in fact a thing, and they actually watch this, have the time to grieve what they might have thought the individual could become, perhaps watch this if they were fixed, or if this altogether was not the case. Once they have accepted and gone through the grief of the idealism that they had and some kind of view of what would seem perfection, or this word normalcy, for the individual that they love, now they can move to the last phase, which is called education. And you begin to educate yourself as the individual, as well as the individuals that love that individual, in what can we not do, or what might be hard, but more than that, what can be easy and what can be possible. And so for me to watch these individuals sit on that show, and to just as regularly talk about the things that they have put in place. I have to take his phone from him. I have to change his passcodes because he will straight give away our cars, our jewelry. The beauty in, for me, what was also on display is the power of love. It really challenges us to take a look in the mirror and say, do I really love this person? Do I really love my mother, father, sister, brother, cousin, aunt, uncle? Because love will make you rise above any uncomfortability that you might have around the fact that someone that you care about is different. And you will find a way, not just for you to be okay with that, but for them to be okay with it. And watch this, for them to be able to thrive in the midst of it. And so shout out to both of them for the fact that they educated our culture in such a significant way. And it also speaks to the power of vulnerability, the power of us sharing our testimonies and not just always presenting to the world, especially as celebrities, the things that are great about our lives, but allowing people to have a window into the challenges that we experience in our lives, because wealthy people experience challenges. Famous people experience challenges. Highly talented people, they experience challenges. And so I think that it was just a gift that they gave to us. And as a therapist, I thought that was dope. So that was our culture code for today. Y'all know what's next. Boom. Ask Dr. K. And so this is our question for today. And remember, I have not heard this question. This is my first time hearing it. And this is the question: why do breakthroughs often feel like breakdowns first? Great question. And I'm going to read it again, not for y'all, but because this is my first time seeing it. Why do breakthroughs often feel like breakdowns first? This is a very interestingly phrased question. I think that the word breakthrough deals more with transformation than change. And I think that when something is transformed, that means that it's going from one state to a completely different state. And so to break through, to have breakthrough, I don't feel like that's like breaking out. I feel like that's breaking into. In order for that to happen, I think that it necessitates a need to break out of what has been. And I think that a lot of times we get out by breaking down. I really do believe that there is something that happens when things break down, if you will, that brings us to what we call the end of ourselves, where you are finally done almost with having to have your way. What happens a lot of times, family, and this is a great question, is what is blocking us is us. We are in our own way. And it's very, very important for us to remember that when you think that your obstacles from becoming or breaking through, if you will, or if you want to call it destiny, the reason why that doesn't happen, if we really be honest and do an evaluation, is that there is still, yes, a barrier there. And I want to suggest that you might be that barrier, that you are still trying to hold on to yourself even, as opposed to releasing all control, which can happen, which we translate as having a breakdown, so that you can allow yourself to ascend to heights that I don't even think that you are aware that you are capable of. And so I think that sometimes God will allow things to break down so that there can finally be a breakthrough, so that someone can shift into a different realm. I believe that breakthroughs have a frequency, and that if you are moving in a frequency that is too low, God is not going to allow you to break through, because that next frequency might actually kill the existing you. I like this. And so at the end of the day, I don't want you to see it as a breakdown. I want you to see a breakdown as a letting go. And what you're letting go of is your restrictions, your limitations, your mindsets, your family's opinions. You're releasing every single thing that is trying to keep you in a lower realm so that you can break through into a higher realm, which I believe is going to require not a higher version of you, but a different version of you. So, you know what I say? Let it all break down. Let it all burn to the ground. And the reason why I want it to burn is because we love a patch job. We love to think that we can stitch something together, tape something back together, sew and button things back together. No, there are times when in order to become, it is going to be necessary for you to shed everything that has been. So let it break down, let it burn down, let it all come completely to the ground, because you cannot tape together sand. You cannot sew together dust. And when you have come to the end of yourself, I don't want you to get depressed. I want you to get ready, because that means that there's breakthrough that's about to happen for you. I'm getting stirred. This thing has blessed. I have been blessed very many much on what is my day today. I hope that that was a blessing to someone that is watching today. These are not words. I want you to grab hold of that for yourself today, even regarding the culture code. I want you to come out of shame. I want you to come out of fear. I want you to come out of every limitation that is moving around in your mind, in your intellect, based on your research, based on what your mama told you, I want you to take the limits off of everything, off of yourself, off of your abilities. I want you to take the limits off of what you've heard about depression, what you've heard about anxiety, what you've heard about Asperger's, about autism. I want you to take off everything that you have heard so that you can hear God. There are possibilities in everything. And a lot of times what you think is a barrier and what you think is a burden is actually going to be somebody else's blueprint or blessing. Don't question why God does what he does. Everything he does, he calls it good. So even though you can't see the good right now, I challenge you to keep seeing your circumstance through the lens of God. And I bet you what's looking like it's not good will start to look good. Okay. I hope this was a blessing today. Drop something in the comments. Let me know whether this registered for you, for where you are in your life right now. I want to hear from you. So y'all already know what I'm about to say. We want you to like, we want you to share, we want you to comment, we want you to do all of the things. I do not take for granted you taking time out of your schedule to hang out with me at the Whole You podcast. But listen, everything about us having prosperous lives, it really lies within the realm of how we view ourselves. Ironically, for this episode, emotionally, as well as how we're viewing things mentally. What is our mindset concerning ourselves, concerning other people, and concerning the world that we're living in? Last thing, family, let's choose positivity. Let's choose to be intentional again about going after what is the good in this situation and circumstance. And more than that, what is the good even in this individual? And then greater than that, finding what is the good in me. Okay. All right. I love you guys. I will see you next episode.